Bienvenidos al Cafecito del Día, brought to you by the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement. Our conversations are inspired by the moments of togetherness that nuestra comunidad shares over un cafecito.
Bienvenidos, soy Carmen Rodríguez. In this new episode of El Cafecito del Día, we share a conversation with Brittany Anderson, Director at Pride at Work. And we explore how the recent actions taken by the Trump administration are impacting the LGBTQ+ community, from policy rollback to raising hostility in workplaces and public spaces. We shed light on how these decisions are not only fueling discrimination, but also putting the rights and safety of LGBTQ+ individuals at risk. Acompáñenos.
Hi, Carmen. Thank you so much for having me.
We can start our conversation talking about how have recent policies from this administration and the elimination of DEI programs contributed to the rollback of protections for LGBTQ+ individuals, particularly in areas like healthcare, education, and workplace rights in public institutions.
Trump administration's attacks on LGBTQIA plus people have already been absolutely devastating, especially for non-union people and kids whose parents aren't union members. We're really seeing how much of a difference unions make when we lose these legal protections that we fought so hard for. It's the non-discrimination clauses, it's the union health care, and just that immediate solidarity of your coworkers that really protects people in their daily life. And a lot of folks who aren't lucky enough to be part of a union family yet are facing things like losing access to life-saving healthcare. We've seen some hospitals and universities already too eager to comply with this DEI executive order, rolling back gender affirming care, and it taking immediate effects for people losing those benefits. And we've also had people who, if they travel for work, so especially thinking about flight attendants, people in the entertainment industry, not just actors, but IATSE members who are crew on films, television, theater, if their passport gender marker doesn't match their sex at birth, they're losing the ability to travel to their job or travel as their job. And so it's been devastating.
What examples have we seen of increased discrimination or hostility against LGBTQ+ individuals as a result of the political rhetoric or policy changes under this administration?
The increased discrimination and violence has been ramping up for years now. And since Trump won the election, unfortunately, bigots have felt even more empowered to be violent and harassing toward people that they perceive as LGBTQIA+. We saw this just recently. I think last week the article came out that there were 2 women who are not trans who were actively using the restroom at a hotel in Boston. And the security guard started banging on the bathroom stall while the woman was going to the bathroom, demanding to know her gender and sex. And, this guard perceived them as trans, but they're not. And so there's all of this just really creepy, invasive, wondering about what's in people's pants that's going on as regular people are just trying to go about their daily lives. And this is a case where it's not just trans people who are being impacted by it. And a lot of people are feeling scared in general. Just even walking down the street in the grocery store, it's a scary time to be part of the LGBTQIA+ community, or even just somebody who dresses a little bit different than what some people think their gender role should be.
That's very unfortunately and sad for all the community. What's the impact of removing openly transgender service members from the military, and how does this reflect the broader erosion of civil rights?
It is insulting, disrespectful, and frankly creepy for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to waste time and resources trying to identify and force out transgender service members who have made such a significant commitment to the military and our country. These are people who are willing to, and in plenty of cases have already put their lives on the line. And how is Hegseth repaying their work, their service, and their sacrifice by getting weird and obsessive about what's in their pants? It's shameful. Transgender people are about 1% of the population and actually serve in the military at higher rates than people who are not trans. So there are about 2 million troops, meaning that's at least 20,000 service members who otherwise had passed every requirement and training that are now going to be hunted down and kicked out. And it's very similar to how the Trump administration is hunting down immigrants. Just like trans people, undocumented immigrants are still our cherished coworkers, neighbors, family, and friends. They're woven into the fabric of our communities. And yet we're seeing the Trump administration and ICE kidnapping our loved ones at bus stops as they go to work, at schools as they drop off their kids. And they're flagrantly defying the law, the courts, and the Constitution to do it. It's just shameful.
This year, Washington, D.C. is the capital of World Pride, and the community is celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Pride Parade. What does the Pride Month look like right now?
I think we're seeing a return to the origins of Pride. Pride started as a protest, as a riot, actually, in 1969 at the Stonewall Inn in New York City, which was and still is a gay bar, where the police would come in and just beat people up and arrest them simply for existing as queer people. And that was standard practice across the entire country for police to just raid bars like that. And people got fed up and started fighting back. Corporate takeover of Pride has been something that those of us in the labor movement have been frustrated with for a long time, that it's turned into parades sponsored by Walmart and defense contractors when we're like, wait, so many of us still don't make a living wage, when trans people still face violence, when our immigrant queer and trans siblings still can't live in safety. So it's more of a protest this year, which it absolutely has to be. And certainly for the labor movement and Pride at Work, immigrants' rights and fighting for due process for everyone are a central theme of Pride Month for us. The Constitution says that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. It doesn't say citizen. It says person, because it's a human right that applies to everybody. It doesn't matter about citizenship or residency status. And the way that Trump and Kristi Noem and ICE are carrying this out, it's not legal proceedings. These are kidnappings. Along with all of our labor movement siblings for Pride Month, we are throwing down for the return of those who have been taken from us and the protection of everyone who is potentially a target for ICE.
We saw everybody coming together on May Day, and this situation is no longer an immigration workers issue. These are, as you mentioned before, attacks on entire communities' rights. Are we expecting to see the same in Pride Month on the Pride Parade?
Yeah, as Audre Lorde said, there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we don't live single issue lives. None of us have just one identity, and we are all deeply interconnected. And that's a good and beautiful thing. In any immigration issue, there are queer and trans immigrants being affected, and vice versa. The way that the Trump administration and MAGA Republicans are specifically targeting immigrants of color and trans people, spreading lies and fear-mongering about these like cherished neighbors and coworkers and family, it's an intentional distraction going after those who are most vulnerable and perceived as different from the majority to distract from this billionaire takeover and make people focus on and blame those that they are less familiar with, and also stop us from coming together because there are way more of us in the working class than there are billionaires. And so when we do join together, we can win. And we see that in our union campaigns. That's where our power comes from, to get these wages and benefits and protection. And we can do it at a mass scale, even beyond one union or just the labor movement.
What type of support have you seen from other communities, and what can organizations like LACLA and Pride at Work do to support the LGBTQ plus community? And what can we do to protect their and our rights?
The way that the labor movement, all the unions and the constituency groups that are coming together to fight for our immigrant siblings is really moving. And we've seen that it is working. SEIU fought really hard, and a lot of us backed them in this and stood shoulder to shoulder with them. And they won the return of their deported member, Rumesa Ozturk, back home to Massachusetts. So we can win, and maintaining these fights for all of our siblings who have already been taken are so worthwhile, right? The SMART SMART union is fighting for the return of their brother, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's our brother, I should say, because any union sibling belongs to all of us. You and I are recording this a little ahead of Pride Month, and we're gearing up with you and the AFL, CIO, and a lot of unions for this big rally demanding that he be returned home to his family here in the DC metro area. So I hope by the time people are listening to this, he is safely back at home. And I also want to shout out another one of our siblings who has been taken, a gay hairdresser from California named Andre Hernandez Romero. He also has been criminalized for tattoos that celebrate his love of theater they're saying that they're gang tattoos, and it's just absurd. In a similar way to other cases where we're seeing things being photoshopped to try to call them gang members when it's so blatant that no, these are just regular people and our neighbors who are being taken from us. So we're going to keep fighting until they're all safely back at home and until people don't have to live in fear in the shadows.
And then finally, what will be your message for not only the LGBTQ plus community, to our siblings organizations, to all union members, and to everybody that is worried right now outside?
It is scary and exhausting. That is very real. And so we need to remember to take care of ourselves and each other, but not lose hope and remember that we will win. A lot of our communities have been through really dark, difficult times in the past when we think about the history in this country of attacks on immigrants we can look at like Japanese internment, and we can look at like the HIV/AIDS crisis, and from slavery and Jim Crow. There have been so many times where there were years and even decades that were unbelievably difficult and where there was incredible violence and we lost people. But even through all of that, we persevered and took care of each other and kept joining together across our differences. And that is how we overcome what seemed impossible then and might feel impossible now. But at the end of the day, there are more of us than there are of them. And by sticking together, we will get through this.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for being with us in este Cafecito del Día and for sharing all of this information.
Thanks so much, Carmen. Love and solidarity to all of our LACLA siblings.
As we wrap up today's conversation, we want to send an urgent message. Now more than ever, we must stand united. Debemos mantenernos unidos y fuertes. This is more than just policies. It's a warning. Discrimination and hate are being given space to grow and have roots in our society. We call on all union members, hermanos y hermanas, and every member of LACLA to raise in solidarity. This is the moment to show up for one another, to speak out against injustice, and to protect the freedoms that so many before us have fought to win. Juntos tenemos el poder y el deber de defender a nuestras comunidades, to push back against hate, and to build a future with respect for democracy. Nos escuchamos en el próximo Cafecito del Día.